Welcome to the Hope Podcast, 10 minutes of weekly encouragement for parents of kids who learn differently. My name is Jimelle Carlson, and I'm so glad you're here. I hope you enjoy this week's episode. Hey friends, welcome back to the Hope Podcast. I am so glad that you're here. This week, I want to spend a little time talking about something very common that I have seen with almost all of the parents that I have had the amazing honor of working with over the past decade. One of the most common themes I find is that so many parents feel alone in their journey as they are getting the news that their child has been diagnosed with a learning challenge, or maybe they don't even have a formal diagnosis. They're in the process of trying to figure out why is their child struggling in school? Why are they not able to keep up with the other kids? It can cause this feeling of being very alone. And so I wanted to just share with you, first of all, statistically, the reality of the fact that there is actually a very high percentage of kids in the United States that are diagnosed with learning challenges. When it comes to things like dyslexia, for example, it's somewhere between 5 and 20% of the population has dyslexia. The reason why that percentage is so broad is because there's a certain number that are actually formally diagnosed. And then there is also information out there about the fact that there are a high percentage of kids in the just mainstream classrooms that have dyslexia, but just aren't being diagnosed and are being able to somehow make it through schooling in spite of their dyslexia. But there is a very high percentage of kids who do have dyslexia. When it comes to things like ADHD, the number of kids that are being diagnosed nowadays with ADHD is really huge. It's actually 11% of kids in the United States have been diagnosed with ADHD, with the highest percentage being with teenagers. That is 7 million kids in the United States that have a formal diagnosis of it. And then again, there's a certain percentage of kids that have not been diagnosed, that have gone undiagnosed. And when it comes to things like autism, the number is on the rise with autism. 1 out of every 31 kids now has been diagnosed with somewhere on the spectrum. My point of just giving you all this information and all this data is to help you understand that you really are not alone. There's a quarter of the population minimum that is facing the same challenges that you are facing, that is experiencing the same pain, that life did not work out exactly the way you had planned for your child, that they are also trying to figure out what is the best avenue, where do we go, what are the resources my child needs. There are a lot of people in the same boat that you are in. I know that may not ease your fears and your anxieties over it, but I do want you to know that you're not alone in your journey. On the one hand, I think that feeling alone when life just doesn't go the way that you planned is just a normal human response to pain and fear. So I think it's just common to feel that way. But I think that sometimes the reason why we also feel alone is because we are comparing ourselves to the other people around us. And maybe you just don't happen to know many people that have kids with learning challenges. Maybe your closest friends or your family members have kids who life seems to be going smoothly for them. And here you are where it's gotten complicated and it is not smooth and it is not easy and you're afraid for your child's future. So maybe that is part of why you're feeling alone. But those families aside, I can tell you that there are a lot of other families out there. One of the other reasons that I feel can cause this feeling of aloneness is maybe our fears of being judged. Sometimes when we discover that something is different about us or our children or our lives, we become afraid of what other people might think of us. Maybe they're going to judge your child. Maybe they're going to judge you. And maybe you're experiencing these feelings of fear that maybe they'll think you did something wrong along the way or something like that. And I just want to encourage you to process, where is that feeling coming from? Are you afraid of judgment? And if so, is that causing you to isolate and withdraw? Maybe you're afraid to share. Maybe you're afraid to reach out for support because you're afraid of this judgment. And so I want to encourage you to think that through, because if that's the case, I want to remind you, you should not be afraid of what other people think. Statistically, your child is clearly normal. There are a lot of other kids with these diagnoses, so there is no shame in it. And you have not done anything wrong. You were not the engineer of your child's genetics. You are not in control of the outcome of whether or not your child was going to have this learning challenge. I love what Dr. Russell Barkley, he's an amazing psychologist who specializes in ADHD. And I love what he says about raising a child who is experiencing differences or getting diagnosed with a learning challenge. He reminds us that we are not the engineers of our children. We are the shepherds of our children. We are the caretakers of our children. And you could not control the genetics that your child has, and you could not control that they were going to end up being diagnosed with this learning challenge. It's not your fault. So you really need to do your best to let go of your shame and fear and concern about what anyone else thinks, and especially what you were thinking. Reach out for the support that you need. Reach out for the support that you deserve. There are a lot of great podcasts. You're listening to this one, but there are other podcasts that support parents that are in the same journey that you're on. And there are websites and blogs, and there are other parents. One thing that I love so much as I welcome new parents to our school when they are feeling alone in their journey, I love so much when we have our parent coffees and these parents get together and they get to share their pains and their fears and connect with other parents and realize they're not alone in those fears. Sometimes just sharing and connecting with someone, it's amazing how much relief that offers. When you are isolating and you are trying to do it all on your own, the fear and the pain is just going to be greater. And we humans, we need other people. We need other people to connect with, to get support from. I just want to remind you, you deserve that. You deserve support. So if you are feeling alone in your journey, which is very common, first of all, offer yourself grace for the fact that you feel that way. You're not alone. Like I said, almost every parent I have worked with has experienced that feeling. So I want to remind you, you are technically not alone. And I want to encourage you to reach out to even just pick one friend that you could talk with and get encouragement and support from. And even further, maybe find a support group or other people that you can just talk with about your journey. And I'll bet that you find that there are other people that really do understand. And there are probably other people right in your own neighborhood or right in your own backyard who are going through the same fears and frustrations, and they're just afraid to reach out to other people. So who knows? It could be by you reaching out, you may give someone else the courage to share what their struggle is. And maybe together you can support each other through your challenge and your frustrations of raising a child who learns differently. So don't forget, you are not alone in your journey, and there is hope for a really great future for your child, regardless of the challenges that they are going through today, regardless of the obstacles that you are trying to help them overcome right now. This stuff is temporary, and there's hope for a great future for your child and for you. Okay, have a great week. Thank you again for listening to the Hope Podcast. If you'd like to connect with me or offer suggestions for topics you'd like covered in future episodes, you can visit me on Instagram at Jimelle Carlson. And if you'd like to learn more about Foundations Cognitive Schools, you can visit our website at foundationscognitive.com.